Hi, Bob. Welcome to the NTM Growth Marketing Podcast. I am excited to be speaking with you today.
Thanks, Andrew. It's great to be here.
Well, as you shared before we did the official recording, you have a lot on your mind, you have a lot to say, and you're looking to share this knowledge with the podcast universe. And let's start off and hear a little bit more about what are you up to today? What is your company about? What is your role at the organization?
Well, I'm the CEO of AccuSpeechMobile. We're a company that voice automates workflow processes. Specifically, our main market is in the warehouse, picking, receiving, cycle count, pick and pack, shipping. We voice automate those applications so that the workers can utilize technology like barcode scanning, RFID reading in combination with voice to skip steps and add data so that collecting the data is much easier. Management likes it because we reduce the errors, we increase productivity, and it's a really very easy way to evolve what you're doing. It's so that you get there faster, better reporting, better data, so that decision making can improve. So yes, we're having a renaissance. A lot of big companies now are looking at what we do and how we do it for a lot of different reasons, basically. But yeah, we're very busy, and yes, I have a lot on my mind. But I'm happy to be here.
Have you always been involved in marketing tech related products?
Um, well, I actually started on the sales side of the house. I've been in sales a long time, and then as my career grew, I kind of got absorbed into marketing because when you start, you become a director of sales, and then all of a
Right.
sudden you become sales and marketing. And but it's interesting. That's a really interesting question. The most sales executives that I know, or executives who go into the C-suite or higher that start on the sales side, have a focused idea of what marketing should provide, and that is qualified sales leads.
Right.
That's what
Has your opinion
sales driven
changed or
organizations
is
want. And I was no different. I would pound on the marketing people saying, they would talk about, overall corporate marketing strategy and messaging and, delivery and, all these things. And I was like, no, you're supposed to drive sales for me. And then as you go through and you mature in your positioning, you understand that all those things are very important. And the tools that can be utilized for them have grown significantly, especially with the advent of AI. So you become much more cognizant of the importance of how potential opportunities see your company. What is their perspective? How do you talk about that? How do you take the positives and make them marketing stalwarts in terms of how you want to be perceived? So as I grew through my career, I became much more respective of how we do that, and also was very impressed with people who are really good at it, because it is a very difficult journey to go with in terms of your company, because things change, your company evolves, things change in terms of who your customers are, and being able to be in lockstep with your marketing material and your messaging and everything that you're promoting, so that it's always the same. I mean, it is a very amorphous type of a strategy, and it takes a lot of skill and a lot of work to make it work. But I have a lot of respect for folks who are really good at it. So
Yeah, I'd love to hear from a CEO's perspective, two different types of marketing. And I don't know if you're involved in both types, but how you might process this as the ultimate decision maker. So the one form of marketing is demand gen, which we all love
mhm.
because you put X in, this comes back. And if it's ROI positive, scale and keep on going. And there's another type of marketing, and I'll give a specific example as I live in Carlsbad, like we talked about the other day. I know you're in Orange County, so you probably have encountered Viore over the years. They're Lululemon's biggest competitor with athletic leisure. Okay,
My wife gets the materials mailed to her all the time.
from Viore or Lululemon?
Both.
Okay, so Viore actually started in Encinitas, which is the town over from Carlsbad, and
Sure.
they have this giant billboard saying something along the lines of "Thank you for 10 years. Encinitas will always be my home." And every time I drive past that, subconsciously I go, well, I need to keep on buying from Viore and not
Right.
Lululemon because of this. And it's not demand gen where you can, as the business owner, attribute that to, sales increasing, but it's more brand marketing. So how do you think of marketing that is very transactional, like running a meta ad campaign versus types of marketing that might be more longer term, just brand building in your community, perhaps?
Well, see that again, excellent question. So when you drive by that billboard, immediately you feel some type of emotional connection. It might not be a very deep emotional connection, but it
Mhm.
is an emotional connection. Hey, this is a hometown company, right? This is a company that is in my hometown. They're thankful, they're grateful to be here. And who knows? Maybe they're doing good things for the local Boy Scout troop, or maybe who
Right.
knows, right? But you think, all right, I'm going to support that company. Now, the idea of that corporate level messaging, that image type of building is something that that particular strategy is saying, okay, we're going to show our community that we love them and we support them. And while that might be a bit of a limiting perspective from a marketing point of view, fact is it works. So for us, what we like to talk about at AccuSpeech is we take a lot of pride in our customer service. We are
Mhm.
as a sales type, as a sales executive who is now in the C-suite. It was for me. It was always about taking care of my customers, and that's a big thing of what we do here is take care of our customers. And so we like to talk about to our new potential opportunities to talk to our customers to say, hey, ask them about how we take care of them, and that's a big part of who we are. Now, that type of a perspective and perception is completely different from, as we talked about in our previous conversation, how I'm using Copilot AI
Right.
to do very distinct, demand generation, and that messaging and how we do it, and how I go through the basically the decision tree and everything else that they provide. So I can say, all right, from that perspective, I can target who I think are specific people in specific organizations who I honestly believe can take advantage of the benefits of what we do here versus this is who we are as a company, this is our reputation, this is what we want people to think about us when I say this. We've got people who are in specific roles who understand voice in the warehouse. It's been around for a long time. They understand how it has grown, how it has changed from legacy systems to very, very, light device-based systems. They understand all that. But folks who are looking at us for the first time, who might be in mobile inspection or maintenance and repair, greenfield areas for voice automation on mobile devices to collect data, if they were to go out and say, hey, I saw this company, AccuSpeechMobile, they have this really neat product, and it seems like their customers love them. That's the kind of thing that, so if you put those two things together, you've got that overarching marketing image that you're trying to portray in the market that hopefully will come out if someone does some research on you versus targeting exactly the folks in operations or in IT who you think would actually be decision makers who already know about what the technology can do, what the benefits are, and potentially even how it's deployed. So it's the overall over like I say the umbrella marketing materials and strategies are for how you want people to basically visualize your company and how you do what you do. The other stuff, the specific targeted stuff, is really like say demand generation in terms of you're really trying to touch folks who could actually use your stuff today. And those are two entirely different marketing strategies. They require different tools, different messages. And again, I have a lot of respect for people who do it well. And as you look at the larger companies, I mean the big companies, I mean, I was reading today where Nestle's going to cut like 20,000 jobs. I've known folks that worked at Nestle and they love working there. And I'm thinking this is going to be a real interesting time for them because how do you move forward with being, the company that makes candy bars versus, making, basically realigning your organization to see of all the consumer brands you have, what are you going to keep? What are you going to cut? How are you going to, I mean, there's always in the realism of the business cycle, there's always going to be ups and downs, and those marketing tools can help you manage your perception as you navigate through that, whether it's good or bad. And to have someone good who does that is really important. So we're very fortunate. We have an organization that we work with that really helps us with our marketing. They're terrific,
Awesome.
and I couldn't be it couldn't be more respectful of how good they are. Can I say who
Yes.
they are? Is that all right?
If you want to give them a shout out, go right ahead.
Yeah, Marketing to Connect, Joan.
Awesome.
They're the best. We really enjoy working with them, and they do a terrific job for us.
Yesterday, I slowed you down because you were starting to share about all the amazing success you've had with outbound campaigns and comparing that to direct mail in the past. I almost said the future. Maybe direct mail is coming back because I've heard people who are going offline in some of their marketing efforts. But tell us a little bit about what's going on with your outbound campaigns and just how amazed you are of some of the data you're seeing.
Well, again, being a dinosaur, I remember when, we would send out direct marketing campaigns. You would send out mailers, you would send out postcards, you would send out, and, you'd always hope that you could get something. And it was very difficult to measure the effectiveness. I mean, if you got somebody, usually it was kismet, right? The timing was great. You got in front of someone and they were looking at something, they had budget for it. So that made it very, very different. It's interesting you should say how it might be coming back. I was actually on a podcast uh, about 2 months ago, and we were talking about young people and how they were having difficulty finding positions, especially coming out of college with all the challenges that currently exist in the business ecosystem. And one of the things we talked about was, if you take the time to actually write a letter to someone who you're interested in a position with, that would be the first thing in your mail that you would open. We were talking
Right.
about that, saying, and if it was actually handwritten and it was thoughtful, it's like, I followed your company and this, that, and the other, and you thought, I'm going to get in touch with this person. I'm going to help this person, right? And again, we had talked about how I like to mentor young people and get them kind of going in a variety of different areas here in Southern California, but that's impressive to me. So I can see that coming back and being effective. When I first came out of college, I had a computer, one of the very first Apple computers, and I printed off probably 500 letters and sent them out to potential employers and got so many responses. It was unbelievable. And I think that would probably work again, but I'm digressing a bit. So what we're using right now is we're using OpenAI for specific targeted email campaigns in LinkedIn. And I know that people say, LinkedIn is for old people like me, which is probably true.
I go
But
on LinkedIn multiple times a day. I love it.
I do too, and I think it's more of a no nonsense kind of a platform, because you,
There's
you can
no
actually
garbage on it. There's
the
people who are going to
yes.
be there's not trolls with fake profiles just spamming you. Like people know they have to be on their A game with a potential employer seeing it. So I digress, but I want to hear a little bit
No,
more about LinkedIn.
I couldn't agree more. I don't think that it's not a time waster, right?
Right.
You see what's going on, and then all of a sudden you see something from Zebra Technologies that they have a new product or a new handheld or a new finger scanner, and you're like, okay, let me check that out. Let me see. Or there's a trade show going on, and maybe you didn't get a chance to go, but I like that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking that the people, if I like that kind of thing, people like me are also looking at it, liking that kind of thing. So we worked with a company, like a Copilot AI. They worked. They're really easy to work with, those fellows over there, people. And so I was working with them, and I was very specific. I'm saying, look, I don't want to waste anybody's time. This is really what I want to get across. There is a big move in the industry to evolve from legacy-based systems to new, lighter, device-based systems for voice automation, that folks are really looking to try to be more effective, to be more agile, to be able to voice enable more than just picking multiple applications in all kinds of different languages. Here in the US, now there's a huge immigrant population that is in warehouses that do all the work. So if you want to have Spanglish or Spanish or Portuguese, or we do Nigerian in Atlanta, I mean, this is a real issue that a lot of companies and managers are having. So we really wanted to go to the big manufacturers with warehouses, the 3PLs, the 4PLs, the organizations that are really having these challenges, understanding that, yes, I know they're looking at robotics. Yes, I know they're looking at automation in terms of conveyors and sorters and reconfiguring their warehouses and investing a lot of money. But here is a technology that you could utilize that can be up within 5 weeks, that can deliver a 99% reduction in errors, that can really goose your productivity anywhere from 20 to 70%, that you can take advantage of very, very quickly. And it's on the applications that your users already are familiar with, on the barcode scanners that you already own. So it's not interruptive like the voice legacy systems of the past. And the response we have been getting is amazing. We have been targeting the people that we want to get to. Of all the folks that we've targeted, we have a 50% connection rate. And of those
And
50%
by
of the
that,
people
you
that
mean they accept your LinkedIn friend requests?
yes,
Okay,
they
just
do.
making sure our vernacular was on the same
Right.
page.
And of those 50%, 29.84% have asked for more information. I mean, that's
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 fantastic.
phenomenal. I mean,
And what was the direct mail stats you shared with me that if you hit those
well,
levels, that was a success?
so it wasn't direct mail, it was email blasts. So we
Okay.
would we would get email. I mean, more recently, I mean, I haven't done direct mail in a long time, but the email blast we would use a periodical, a magazine like DC Velocity, which is a big player in our industry.
Mhm.
And we would go to them and we'd say, we'd like to do an email blast to your readership, which is about 42,000 people. And it's very specific to supply chain, which is where we want to be. So we would send that out, and routinely we would get an open rate of between 11 and 14%, with a call to action rate between 1.5% and 3%.
Wow.
And of that, it would probably turn into maybe 2 to 5 opportunities, and we would close maybe half of those. This has been unbelievable, because one of the great things about this is we're working with some very, very large companies, international companies. So all of a sudden, if I see that we have a very large 3PL who is extremely interested in starting to deploy our technology, all of a sudden I can put together a custom campaign on Copilot in LinkedIn specific to that organization. So if you've got 42,000 employees, I can say, okay, I want to go to this company. I want to do 100 a month. I want to do 100 a week of invitations. These are the folks I want to get. I don't care where in the world they are. This is the message I want to send. And then of course it's great because the AI will come back, and when they do click and they want more info, the Copilot product will look at who they are, they'll look at their background, they'll look at their accomplishments, and they'll give you basically templates of, this is probably what this person will want to read about. This is one way you can get to where, in terms of what they think is important and what their job function is, this is how you might want to position this or say it or send them, so that it really will be relevant. Now, I've had philosophical conversations with friends and people saying, well, isn't that kind of cheating? I mean, you're like looking at the, like, no, this is saving time. If I can have something help me, again, this is basic. This breaks down to basic decision support. If I can have more information, good information to help support my decision as to who I send things to, what I send to them, and how I say it, I think that AI is providing me a service to be more relevant, to be more on point in terms of what strategically they might be looking for. And I think that's valuable. So I have fully embraced this, and the results speak for themselves. I am just very,
I
very
love it.
impressed, and we continue to use. I mean, we're going to continue to use it, as far as I'm concerned, for as long as, unless something better comes along. But this is what we're
There
doing.
probably will be something better. Is that just how fast AI is advancing? But Bob, to wrap this up, if someone wants to learn more about you, your organization, can you share some ways we can follow up with you?
Sure, go to AccuSpeechMobile.com, mobile
And can
with
you
an E
spell
on
that
the
out for
end.
us too?
Huh?
Can you spell that out for us too?
AccuSpeechMobile,
Perfect.
AccuSpeechMobile.com. And you can connect to me there. There's all kinds of information, white papers, videos, how we do what we do, the workflow improvement processes that we get involved with, the device-based voice automation technology that we have, and happy to talk to anybody if you want to reach out. Uh, you bet.
Perfect.
Happy to do it.
Perfect, Bob. Thank you for your time today.
Hey, listen, Andrew, have a good one.
Before we jump into our next guest, we want to take a moment to tell you about our marketing mastermind cohort, No Typical Marketers. If you are a marketing executive looking to connect with like-minded professionals, this is the space for you. It's more than just a Discord group. It's your exclusive ticket to monthly roundtable meetings where we have group discussions about advanced marketing strategies, share insights, and solve real world challenges like implementing AI agents into your marketing. Membership is exclusive and by application only. If you're ready to take your marketing game to the next level, apply now using the link in the description below. We can't wait to see you there. Now, back to the episode. Hi, David. Welcome to the NTM Growth Marketing Podcast. I am excited to be speaking with you today.
Same. Thanks for having me, Andrew.
David, let's start off and hear a little bit more about you, your organization. What does the day in the life of David look like?
A day in the life. Wow. I don't know how exciting it would be for the listeners, right? But I'm David J. Ebner. I tell people the J is silent. It's just easier to find me online. If you throw the J in the middle there, there's other David Ebners out there. I'm the founder and president of Content Workshop, a brand storytelling agency. Been in operation now for over 13 years. So we've been doing it for quite some time. Certainly pre AI. So I've got a lot of experience as how that has changed over time. We focus on, telling a brand story in an artistic way, right? We try to deploy, your traditional storytelling tactics that typically are only used on the art side. We try to deploy them on a commercial side for the brands that we work with. A day in the life, man, I'm on a lot of podcast calls like this, Andrew, with fantastic people like you. So how could it not be anything but great?
In terms of storytelling, I'm interested to hear your thought on this because when I think of, I'll bring this to my world running a marketing agency. And what I always tell people is the medium shifts. We could be a Facebook agency, zuck to something stupid. Now we need to do TikTok. But the idea of storytelling has been around for as long as time. Do you believe storytelling has radically changed over the years, or is it a pretty consistent model of what works and captivates an audience?
It absolutely is a consistent model that works. And the reason it actually captivates, to your point, which I love that you brought that up, is because it builds an emotional connection between two people, a brand, and an audience. It really doesn't matter that the storyteller and the one listening is where that connection is built, right? And that has been true since the beginning of time. And that's why brand storytelling works so well in a commercial aspect too. Buying something is an emotional experience for the most part. We do justify our purchases with logic when we're buying them on behalf of a business, typically. Sometimes personally, we just like it, so we buy it. But that again, the same underlying strategy of why storytelling works hasn't changed. It doesn't matter what the tools or implements are. It just simply hasn't changed.
I'm going to bring this into a classic story and a brand that almost their entire business model is based upon this. But the fans and the audience kind of revolts against it. So the idea of David versus Goliath, everyone knows this. It's been around for thousands, however many years. I believe professional wrestling, WWE, is an entire business model based around storytelling, David versus Goliath. But you'll see a lot of people revolting and actually rooting for the Goliath to beat the David. So do you see any, countercultural movements like that where people are taking a David Goliath story and almost changing the narrative of who's good and who's bad in those dynamics?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't think of a better analogy than what you just brought up because I think a wrestling is some of the best storytelling on earth in real life storytelling. Wrestling is certainly that. The fact that we know that it's obviously it's performative, but yet we still are excited and we still believe and we still are surprised constantly. And I think that's part of the reason why the villain is so appetizing. There's plenty of stories where the villain theoretically is somebody worth rooting for. There's plenty of
Mhm.
stories where the villain turns good too. Um,
Right.
Most stories, characters aren't simply static, they're dynamic, right? They
Right.
evolve. That's what makes them worth watching and loving. So I think, there's nothing wrong with that. When it comes to brand storytelling, we don't usually get that. You're not rooting for the villain when it comes to brand storytelling, because usually that's
Mhm.
like a pain point that the audience feels. The
Mhm.
villain for many brands is like the thing that's costing you time, money,
Mhm.
that you're wasting. And the hero, right, is the brand because they can make your life better.
Mhm.
And really, the true hero in any brand story is the audience themselves, right? They
Mhm.
are the ones that are trying to use the solution from the company or the brand to help defeat the villain in their own
Mhm.
life, right? So, anyway, great analogy, Andrew. I couldn't think of a better one.
Why do you think brands position themselves as a hero and don't put the audience, their customers, as the hero?
Andrew, this is the largest mistake most brands make.
Mhm.
They see themselves as the hero of the story, or they see themselves as the pinpoint of the story, and they're not. All
Mhm.
they are is a catalyst. They're a catalyst to help their audience achieve their goals, save them money, save them time, whatever it may be. And once you start to see that, you start to see the audience as the hero, right? And everybody, when they see it, they hear a story, they immediately start to associate themselves with one of the characters in the story. Disney does this really well. Over time, you know, you're the kid in the story, right? Like I watch all these Disney stories, and I'm the child, the kid, whatever
Right.
character that aligns with. As I'm older now, I'm the dad, right? Like I'm that other character in the story now. I didn't realize that shift was happening until I started watching some with my kids, right?
The new
So you
Star, did you watch the new Star Wars kid series? I forget the famous actor's name, but I was to that point 10 years ago, I'd have resonated with the kids, but then I was resonated with like the middle-aged grumpy man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I'm starting to think like grandpas are kind of like
Yeah.
more my shtick. But you know, we do the same thing when we hear from stories from brands too. We associate ourselves as the hero, and a brand that will put you first and foremost as the hero front and center is going to get that connection faster because they can
Mhm.
see themselves being successful with the brand, right? It's all
Mhm.
about that visualization. And that's done through an emotional connection between the two. So I think that's super valuable. I think brands should start to pivot that way. Most brands are doing this already.
Mhm.
Um, Many new and startup brands, there's stories usually about the company or it's about the founder.
Mhm.
Those work when it's just a one person shop and they're buying your expertise. But once they're buying like the brand's expertise, you have to step
Mhm.
up, and you have to make it about them.
There's a in the tech marketing world, there's a theory called crossing the chasm. If
Mm.
you've run into that, and so it talks about actually at the very onset when you're attracting customers, using the CEO as the story is great for that compelling vision and why, in that hero's journey of he or she. But then to get to mainstream adoption, you actually have to drop that entirely and you have to shift the messaging because you can't just be, the heroic CEO, visionary, whatnot. People want to buy for different reasons when you start to become more of a mainstream product.
That makes perfect sense. Literally, that's why I've been telling people I didn't know there was a theory behind why that works, but it's true. It's true.
So I want to get back to AI. So you mentioned this briefly in one of your points that you were making, and I think AI in storytelling is so interesting. We even saw it, the Hollywood strike a few years ago, and big part of that was related to not wanting AI to come into the writers' room. But we can't help it that AI is moving, whether we want it to or not, in all facets of careers. So tell me a little bit about how AI has been impacting you, whether that's positive or negative.
Yeah, I definitely had like a visceral reaction. I was walking somewhere around my neighborhood here, and I was listening to a podcast, and I think Mark Cuban was on there, and he was saying that his son was now using AI to like write his school reports. And
Mhm.
when I heard that, like something just clicked for me. Like, oh wow, this isn't just like a fun tool that some people are using. Like it's going to be adopted by the next generation as the mainstay for developing content,
Mhm.
right? And as somebody who runs a content forward agency, that's concerning to me, right? We do
For
that all
sure.
by hand today. Um, but after I got over that, existential crisis, as it were, and those feelings, I started to think about AI on more of a strategic level. And I think this
Mhm.
is where a lot of brands could take a step back maybe right now. I think AI is being kind of shoved at us.
Mhm.
particularly from the higher ups sometimes down.
Mhm.
You have to use AI, but to what goal or what outcome or for what strategy is usually left up in the air, right? There's no actual
Yeah.
direct other than deploy it because I think I'll make more money if you do. So that's happening a lot. And I think if we take a step back and start to look at strategically how to use it, strategically what we're trying to accomplish, you can take a look at your current marketing practices. Look at your current workflow. Look at your
Mhm.
current way you do things. There's a reason you do them that way because you expect high quality results, right?
Mhm.
So how do we deploy AI into that workflow and that process to build efficiencies? Where are the humans still needing to be in the loop at different points for whatever reason, whether
Mhm.
it's a QA reason or like if you like to write content, don't have AI do it for you. Have AI do the things you don't like to do. That was like the whole point, right? Is that it's going to do the things you don't like to do.
Right.
So find out a process for you and for your team of where you can deploy AI more in an agentic type model, right? And less
Mhm.
of like a holistic, it's going to take over everything kind of model. And I think you're going to find better results faster and higher quality results
Mhm.
faster. So that's how we've deployed it. We're actually building our own software around that too. We've taken the last
Wow.
13 years to really understand the best storytelling process.
Mhm.
We're taking that process and finding ways to infuse AI into that process and then
Mhm.
building it into a package that anybody could use. And it's exciting and it's a lot of fun, but it still puts like the human the human intelligence and creativity in the driver's seat.
I heard you mention the word agentic. Are you messing around with AI agents?
Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of building our own,
Mhm.
honestly, and we're using holistic AI type platforms like ChatGPT and Gemini as agents, not as
Gotcha.
holistic tool. I think the biggest mistake a lot of people make with AI is that they think that the tool is going to like do all of the work for them. Whereas in theory, you really need to feed it a lot of information about you
Mhm.
and proper data set to start. If you're not customizing your AI tools, you're not going to get the output that you need, right?
Mhm.
And then you can start to like work it into that workflow. But that's how we're using it today.
So I want to conclude with this question, David. So what I heard was maybe a little bit of resistance a few years ago to AI when ChatGPT came in. Now you're so cutting edge with it that you're actually building an AI agent. What would you say, to someone out there who is somewhere in that, threshold of AI? What recommendation would you have to them to lean into AI and use it more effectively? The answer might be as simple as you just said, do less of the things you hate, but would love for you just to share that again.
I would definitely start by taking a step back. I know a lot of people are being forced to deploy it fast. AI is
Mhm.
not a tool to produce more. Do
Mhm.
not think of it as a tool to produce more. Think of it to produce time.
Mhm.
And if you start to think of it on that level, you want to maintain the same quality, if not increase the quality, because you'll have more options at your disposal. So if you take that step back and really think strategically of how to use it and how to deploy it and what works today, instead of having it take over everything, you're gonna have more success long term. Um, Definitely set proper expectations on output with
Mhm.
whoever you're reporting to, right? Whether that's clients or is it if it's to somebody who's higher up on the totem pole than you. That the goal is not more. The goal
Mhm.
is better, and if anything is more, it's more time.
Perfect, David. And if someone wants to learn more about you, your organization, your new SaaS product, where can we find some more information?
The best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I'm the most active on there. You can go David J Ebner. Don't forget the J, Andrew. You got to get the J in there. You find me on LinkedIn. I accept every single connection request for good or bad on LinkedIn. So please connect with me there. If you want to talk to me directly, actually on our website contentworkshop.com, there's a little chat pane in the lower right hand
Mhm.
corner. That actually comes directly to my phone right here. If you're chatting on with that it's not a bot, it's me. So if you want to talk to me about anything, you can do that at any time at contentworkshop.com.
Perfect, David. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Andrew.